What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We are going to kick off our post-spring power rankings here with the Big Ten. I intended to do the SEC first. When I was going through, I just somehow wound up doing the Big Ten. So we're going to start things off here with the Big Ten. I was looking back for my pre-spring power rankings, and I realized that I never did them. This is the first time I've done power rankings this offseason. I usually do a pre-spring power ranking, a post-spring power ranking, and then a preseason power ranking once we get to August. But for whatever reason, I guess I forgot to do it. So again, this is the first time you're seeing power rankings from me this off season, and we are going to begin here with the Big Ten. We're going to start at number 14 and work our way up to the top at number 14. We've got Illinois. Illinois comes in here, and here's the thing about the Big Ten. They, in my opinion, have the highest basement of all the Power 5 teams. When I'm talking about, you look at the teams at the bottom of the Big Ten, they're better than the teams at the bottom of really all the other Power 5 conferences. It's really interesting. I think Illinois could beat Vanderbilt. I think they'd beat Kansas. I think they'd beat Duke. You go out to the Pac-12, beat Arizona, I guess. But yeah, Illinois will not be a bad team. Although they're here at number 14, it's just because there are really no bad teams in the Big Ten. Rutgers has gotten their act together. Maryland's getting better. It's really interesting when you look at this conference. No one's gotten up there to really challenge Ohio State, but the teams at the bottom have begun to elevate their games. But Illinois is here at number 14. Brett Bielema taking over. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this team. I mean, they could shock everyone this year. It wouldn't surprise me if Illinois finishes in the middle of the Big Ten West. They've got a veteran team, a lot of experienced guys, some transfers coming in. Brandon Peters back at quarterback. What's it going to look like with Brett Bielema now taking over this team? It's really a mystery, and we don't know if they're going to, what's it going to look like year one? Is it going to take a little bit of time? Are they going to quickly get going here? I mean, we really just don't know what's going to happen with Illinois, but I think because of the uncertainty, because of this team finishing really probably at the bottom last year, we're going to kick things off here with number 14, Illinois. Again, better than every other bottom team in the other Power 5 conferences, but I do have to put a team at the bottom. At number 13, we have Purdue. Purdue is a team that we always think, they're going to get it going. This is the year. It just hasn't happened yet. Plummer back at quarterback. We'll see if he can take that next step. They lose Rondell Moore, a big loss, although he hasn't played a ton the last couple of years with injuries and everything. But yeah, we're just kind of waiting on Purdue. I think they've got guys to where they can have a competitive team, but they're really similar to Illinois. If you want to flip these teams around, I think it's pretty close. Purdue is not recruited well. They've been really towards the bottom of the Big Ten every year in recruiting. So not a lot to get excited about if you're Purdue, but they could also be a team that surprises this year. I'm telling you, anyone in the Big Ten West could surprise. I don't think that there is a clear favorite in that division, and I don't think that there is a clear worst team in that division. I think that it's going to be a really, really fun race in the Big Ten West. Purdue at number 13. Number 12 is Michigan State. Some people think Michigan State's going to be a lot better this year. I'm just not seeing it. When I look at the roster, when I look at what they have done the last couple of years, Mel Tucker hasn't really proven anything as a head coach. I mean, we think, oh, they got Mel Tucker, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. We don't know what he's going to do as a head coach. He really doesn't have any track record of success as a head coach. So, I'm kind of hesitant on Michigan State. They bring in Anthony Russo at quarterback from Temple. I really like that move. I think he's a guy that can give them a boost. Again, this is not going to be a terrible team. There will be no terrible teams in the Big Ten. And Michigan State, I'm sure, will play solid defense. But until they get that offense to where they can be a little bit more explosive, especially through the air, it's just going to be tough for them to compete with the top teams in the Big Ten. Although, week in and week out, it's going to be hard. But for 1 week, don't be surprised if Michigan State pulls off an upset somewhere this season. Number 11, it is Rutgers. Didn't think we would see Rutgers out of that bottom spot just a couple of years ago. But Greg Schiano has done an excellent job with this team. They brought in some more transfers this year. He's changed the culture. I mean, we saw it last year. Rutgers had one of the biggest turnarounds really in college football. It's crazy how much better they were last season. Had some close losses in there. They could have won even more games. You look ahead to this year, again, a lot coming back, transfers coming in. Rutgers should be a pretty competitive team in the Big Ten. Will they compete in the Big Ten East for the championship? No, but they have a chance to possibly be a mid-tier team in that division. And again, when it comes down to Michigan State Rutgers, it was kind of a close one, but I trust Greg Schiano a little bit more. He's done it before. He's a proven head coach, so that's why I give Rutgers the nod and put them at number 11. At number 10, we've got Maryland. Maryland's a team that showed some flashes last year, really the last couple of years. We've seen them at times look good. Mike Loxley taking over. Tua's brother, Talia Tagovailoa, is back at quarterback. Got some weapons around him, some transfers coming in. This is a team that could be exciting to watch this year. I think offensively they'll be pretty good. No, he's not going to be as good as his brother, but you've got a quarterback there that has a chance to be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten, I think. And again, if they can just kind of do what they did at times last year a little bit more consistently, Maryland could be a pretty good team this year. So watch out for them. At number 9, we've got Northwestern, team that just won the Big Ten West last year. But I just look at the roster here. They lost so much. Some key guys on defense. You lose your quarterback. You got Ryan Helinski coming in from South Carolina. Maybe he'll be the starter. I don't even know for sure what's going to happen there. You got Hunter Johnson as well. But they had some guys leave, some guys transfer, some guys have gone off to the NFL or graduated. Just looking at the roster, Northwestern should be almost maybe at the bottom of these power rankings. I mean, that's just how bad it is when you look at the roster as far as experience coming back. But this is all about Pat Fitzgerald and what he has been able to do. I trust him as a head coach. I believe they will fill the holes that they need to fill. They'll be ready to go. They'll be a competitive team. They're not going to be awful, but I do expect them to take a pretty good step back. So Northwestern at number 9 for me, just too many question marks. Number 8 is Nebraska, a team that I think has potential to have a really good year this year. They're going to be interesting. Adrian Martinez is back. He's healthy. You got some weapons around him. They brought in some transfers. Offensive line's getting better. Defense should be really solid. I believe Nebraska has a chance to win the Big Ten West. Are they a favorite? No. But it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Nebraska win the Big Ten West this year. I think they've got a good enough team. It hasn't come together for them just yet, but now that they have a solid defense, you like what Scott Frost can do on the offensive side of the ball, watch out for Nebraska. I think they're a real contender in the Big Ten West. I think we've got 4 teams that have a really good shot to win this division. No, it's not just Wisconsin and Iowa, also Nebraska, and also our number 7 team, that's Minnesota. Minnesota, I think, could make some noise this year. They were one of our more underrated teams, top 10 underrated teams this year. Tanner Morgan back at quarterback, Ibrahim back at running back. The offense should be pretty solid. Offensive line should be really solid. Defensively, they were really young last year. I mean, I think they had like 2 starters coming back. Now that those young guys have had some time to grow up and they're going to have a full offseason to go through, I think the defense will be better. Are they going to be a great defense? Probably not, but they'll be better, and I think the offense will be pretty solid. So watch for Minnesota. I think a real dark horse there in the Big Ten West along with Nebraska. Number 6, we've got Michigan. Michigan's a tough one to figure out. They could finish at number 2 or number 3 on this list. They could finish at number 10. Just so many question marks about this team and the direction that they're going. Defensively, they made some big changes. New defensive coordinator. They've got talent there. I mean, they've got some pretty good players. I don't know. It's everyone I think is overreacting to last year. Last year was terrible, but that's the only really bad year Jim Harbaugh has had. I know you look at that. You look at the fact that they haven't beat Ohio State, and you just think, yeah, Michigan's just spiraling out of control. They're going to be terrible. No, I don't think so. I think this team has enough talent. You've got options at quarterback. McNamara will be back, and if he doesn't do well, you've got McCarthy, the freshman. You've got Alan Bowman, the transfer. You've got weapons on offense. Are they going to be scoring 50 points a game? No, but I think they can be good enough to where they can beat most teams in the Big Ten. I think this is a team that's in the top half of the Big Ten, but still a lot of question marks. A lot of question marks for Michigan, and I've got them down here at number 6. Number 5 for me is Penn State. Very close to putting Penn State at number 4. Number 4 and number 5 were very close to me. I was bouncing back and forth. But I'm going to go with Penn State here at number 5. Sean Clifford back at quarterback. They've got some talent at running back this year. Offensive line should be pretty strong. Really kind of maybe waiting on some help at wide receiver. That's an area where they haven't been great. You look at the defense, I think they'll be really solid there. They lost some guys, yes, but I think you saw the younger guys start to grow up in the second half of last season. They won all those games in a row to close out the year. They carry that momentum into this year, and I think this will be a top 25 team. Let's go to number 4 now. That is Iowa. Again, Iowa, Penn State, very close for me. Iowa is a team that it's really about the head coach here. It's about their ability to reload. They've done it year in and year out. They've always been a competitive team. Looking at the roster, yeah, I've got some question marks, some big losses on the offensive line, the defensive line. Big concerns, and those are areas where you need experience coming back. Most teams that struggle usually struggle on the offensive and defensive lines. Spencer Petras at quarterback, is he going to get better? Wasn't great last year. So there are some question marks for Iowa, but I like them to be able to kind of reload, have a quality team, a team that will compete for the Big Ten West. Not a team that's going to finish in the top 10. I think that's why I kind of say I think this team's being overrated by some because you look at how they played last year, but they lost a lot of talent from that team. I think this is still a solid team, a top 25 team, but not a playoff contender or anything like that. Iowa, I have at number 4. Number 3 for me is Wisconsin. Wisconsin and Iowa very close here, but Wisconsin has more coming back. And I think you've got a better quarterback in Graham Mertz, more production coming back. Wisconsin, to me, is the favorite in the Big Ten West. Are they heavy favorites? No. I think it's going to be a very competitive division, like I said. But this Wisconsin team, if they can kind of take that next step offensively, get a little bit more explosive on that side of the ball, if Graham Mertz can elevate that passing game, which we saw in the early part of last year before they had all the injuries and all the COVID issues, Wisconsin has potential to be really, really good this year. We'll see if they can live up to that. Number 2 is Indiana. Indiana comes into this season as a team that I think might be the biggest. I think this is the biggest threat for Ohio State this year. They get Ohio State at home. It's a team that has a very tough schedule. I think that's going to make it tough for Indiana to make any real noise in the college football playoff race or anything like that. But Michael Penix is back at quarterback. Recovery is going well for him. They just brought in Stephen Carr from USC, a proven running back. That is a huge pickup and a big reason why I put Indiana ahead of Wisconsin here. You've got a lot of production coming back, a quarterback who's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the conference, talent around him, some transfers coming in that will help. Indiana, I know people think this team's overrated. I think Indiana is a legitimate top 15 team and possibly even a top 10 team this year. Watch out for the Hoosiers. But at number 1, it's Ohio State. It's pretty easy. This was the easiest ranking to do in these rankings because no one is even close to Ohio State from a talent perspective. This team is just loaded talent-wise. No one, again, is even close to them in the Big Ten. You got options at quarterback. I think it will be C.J. Stroud. You got a stable of running backs, the best wide receiver group probably in all of college football. Really solid offensive line. I think one of the best defensive lines in all of college football. Now, the back 7 on defense, that's where the question mark is for Ohio State. Linebackers are going to be really inexperienced. Cornerbacks, safeties, they have struggled as of late, and there's not really anything that makes you think they're going to get a whole lot better. You would expect them to get some better this offseason. But even with those flaws, Ohio State is still clearly the best team in the Big Ten going into 2021, and they are number 1 in our post-spring Big Ten power rankings.